Welcome to the news of the Dicastery for the Laity, Family, and Life for the month of May 2018.
Pope Francis has published a new apostolic exhortation, Gaudete et Exsultate, devoted to showing how we can be holy in the world today, following the Beatitudes. He has also approved a new statute for our Dicastery.
The Undersecretary Linda Ghisoni explained in a statement the Dicastery's mission towards the lay movements and associations.
The Undersecretary, Gabriella Gambino, has made some statements to Vatican News, recalling the Church's commitment in the defense of human life.
Preparations for the World Meeting of Families in Dublin and World Youth Day in Panama are underway. The fourth catechesis for the World Meeting of Families has also been published.
As always, there have been several bishops' conferences who have visited our Dicastery in fulfillment of their Elementa visit. We highlight those of Nigeria and the Antilles.
Pope Francis has chosen the spirit of joy to begin his latest apostolic exhortation, Gaudete et Exsultate. Rejoice and be glad is the title of the document, which recalls the words that Jesus addresses to those persecuted or humiliated for his sake.
In the 5 chapters, which correspond to 44 pages in 177 paragraphs, Pope Francis does not write a treatise on holiness containing definitions and distinctions, but rather outlines a way to repropose the call to holiness, pointing out its risks, challenges, and opportunities.
The Pope speaks of the call to holiness in the first chapter. Subsequently, he speaks of the enemies of holiness, Gnosticism and Pelagianism. In the 3rd chapter, he focuses on the theories of holiness. In the 4th chapter, Pope Francis reviews the necessary characteristics in order to understand the lifestyle of holiness, and concludes in the 5th chapter, inviting us to fight against the evil one, who, he writes, is not a myth, but a personal being who assails us.
The Pope writes, "A Christian cannot think of his or her mission on earth without seeing it as a path of holiness. The latter is made up of small gestures of everyday life. In particular, Francis asks that the young be looked out for, often immersed, he emphasizes, in a culture of zapping, in virtual worlds far removed from reality."
Furthermore, the Holy Father has approved the Dicastery's new statute, which went into effect on May 13th. Since its foundation in 2016, it had a statute in place approved ad experimentum.
According to the new statute, the Dicastery is competent in those matters pertinent to the Apostolic See for the promotion of life and the apostolate of the lay faithful for the pastoral care of the young, the family and its mission, following God's plan, and for the protection and support of human life. The Undersecretary, Linda Ghisoni, has recalled in some recent statements, quoting Cardinal Farrell, that the Dicastery can be defined as a quarry working at the service of the laity, the family and life, with a close relationship among these 3 dimensions.
How can we speak of family without taking the baptismal vocation of the laity into account, without thinking about the formation of the laity? How can we speak of human life in all its variations and the educational challenges in the field without taking into account the young, the elderly, women and men in their relationship in the heart of the family, the church and society, said Mrs. Ghisoni.
Meeting with the associations, movements, and communities concerning our Dicastery, she added, constitutes an important part of our daily work. We constantly receive lay associations and groups for various reasons. For example, for the approval of their statutes when they are established as international associations of the faithful. We receive them when, after internal difficulties, they face a discernment regarding their identity.
As a Dicastery of the Holy See, we have been entrusted with a mission of monitoring associations, movements, and communities concerning our Dicastery. We are called to support and encourage these associations in their growth in order to remain faithful to the specific gift, to the charism entrusted to them, in the protection of fundamental rights and duties of the members of such associations, and also of those whom they direct in the exercise of their ministry.
Monitoring does not mean mortification, but care, just like a father and a mother, who listen, support, correct, perhaps forbid, encourage your children, whose gift is not their sole property, but rather the Father, makes the Church a mother, added the Undersecretary.
However, the lay associations are not the only ones encouraged by the Dicastery. Mrs. Ghisoni recalled that it is increasingly necessary that it express the fatherhood and motherhood of the Church toward all the lay faithful, toward those who, not associated, live their day-to-day reality in the family, in the parish, in the diocese, in society, in the challenges of every day, every man and woman today, concluded Mrs. Ghisoni. Putting the fragility in all the dimensions of human existence back into the center. This is one of the priorities highlighted by Gabriella Gambino, Undersecretary of the Dicastery for the Laity, Family, and Life, in an interview granted to Vatican News.
Today, the Church is facing unprecedented challenges in the field of bioethics in general, and especially in the areas of life, sexuality, marriage, and the family. In this, a role is also being played by legislations all over the world that reduce the spaces where the meaning of life is elaborated, especially with regard to challenges coming from technology, science, and medicine. So I think it is important to focus today, first of all, on the fragility which constitutes the core of bioethical reflection, she concludes. The World Meeting of Families will seek to communicate and distill for our times the beautiful and prophetic vision of God's plan for marriage and the family, because we believe that the Church's proclamation of the family is good news for society and the world.
These were the words of the Archbishop of Armagh, Eamon Martin, Primate of Ireland, in the Pontifical University of the Holy Cross, on the occasion of the seminar for the Church's communications offices on dialogue, respect, and freedom of expression in the public arena.
Communicating the family, founded on a loving relationship between a man and a woman, which is open to the gift of children who are the fruit of that love, can appear increasingly countercultural in many parts of the world, including Ireland, Martin said, adding that the Church's vision of the family is best communicated by families, who are not simply the object of the Church's ministry and evangelization, but powerful agents of evangelization.
The Church of Sydney is in full swing with two major events, the World Meeting of Families and World Youth Day.
For the meeting in Dublin, explains the Metropolitan Archbishop of Sydney and Primate of Australia, Monsignor Anthony Fisher, in a brief interview granted to the Franciscans of Mary. Primarily, we are preparing to name the families that we will send to Ireland, and before sending them, we are investing a lot of time in the pastoral preparation.
With regard to Panama, the Archbishop stressed that many young people will travel from Sydney to experience the wonderful joy that is given in sharing the faith with millions of young people from all over the world.
Now online is the fourth artistic multimedia clip which accompanies the itinerary of the catechesis for the World Meeting in Dublin.
And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. This phrase of the Gospel is the core of the fourth preparatory multimedia artistic clip for the World Meeting of Families in Dublin. It is a soundtrack to the meditation for violin and orchestra of the lyrical work in 3 acts by Jules Massenet Tice.
The multimedia content is available on our website and on our YouTube channel. It is designed to be an accompaniment to the catechesis, one for each month until August, the date of the Irish event. It has been produced, like the others, thanks to the collaboration between the Dicastery and the Franciscans of Mary.
The new clip is the fourth stage of a reflection that begins in the first catechesis, with a concrete vision of families today, where it points to the relevance of God's Word, able to enlighten the day-to-day family life in the home, second catechesis, to achieve the dream that God has for each family, third, also there. And so we come to the fourth catechesis, where frailties and weaknesses seem to break it.
Combined with the catechesis, as a lively and enjoyable tool to be used in the family or in the parish, the clips are in 5 languages and approximately 5 minutes long each. They present an interweaving of the text of the Gospel, the musical itinerary guided by Marco Tibaldi, theological advisor to the project, The Great Mystery, and a piece of music, performed in concert by Maestro Andrea Bocelli in the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
On 2 consecutive days, April 24th and 25th, our dicastery received a large group of Nigerian bishops on their ad limina apostolorum visit to Rome. With its almost 200 million inhabitants, of which around 20% are Catholic, Nigeria has the most populous Catholic community of the African continent.
The picture described by the prelates presents the image of a dynamic and vibrant church in constant growth, both in quality and quantity. In fact, the innate sense of God, which unites all the Nigerian people, is reflected in the parishes, where participation in the Sunday Masses is about 90%.
The bishops also praised the dedication and commitment of the laity in the church at all levels, especially in the areas where their expertise is most needed: finance, management, health, education, charitable works. This dedication is the result of the constant solicitude of pastors who have always seen in the laity the anchor of the church itself.
So much so that, in 1973, the Bishops' Conference set up an organization, the Catholic Laity Council of Nigeria, to coordinate the apostolate of the laity and ensure that their good catechetical, pastoral preparation through resources and formation programs. Today, thanks to initiatives such as the Catholic Social Forum, the number of Catholic faithful who decide to engage in the administration of public affairs is growing.
Filling the churches is not enough, the prelates reiterated. It is necessary to look at what happens beyond Holy Mass, in daily life, where the existential choices are not always in consonance with the faith. We need more coherence.
To give some examples, they talked about the problem of polygamy, which weakens the institution of Christian marriage, and the rampant phenomenon of corruption, which does not spare the Catholic faithful. The situation of the youth with regard to unemployment, illiteracy, poverty, and the lack of prospects give cause for concern.
But above all, the young Nigerians are exposed and defenseless in the face of pernicious ideological currents that come mostly from the West. For the same reasons, these young people are also victims of the numerous sects that abound in the country and promote the gospel of prosperity. Therefore, the bishops feel the urgent need to integrate the care of souls with the commitment to creating better social conditions.
On April 17th, our dicastery received a large group of bishops from the Antilles on their ad limina visit to Rome. The Bishops' Conference of the Antilles unites bishops from 24 territories that form a complex political, cultural, religious, demographic, geographical, historical, and linguistic reality.
The diversity of the Antilles is also reflected in the physiognomy and in the life of the particular churches in the Caribbean. For example, it includes countries where the Catholic population constitutes a large majority: Guadeloupe, 83%, Martinique, 82%, while in others, Catholics are a small minority: the Cayman Islands, 3.6%, and Jamaica, 2.7%.
Despite these differences, the countries are affected by common evils: the proliferation of sects, secularization, the crisis of the family, the decline in the number of vocations, concern for young people, social tensions, poverty, climate change, and above all, the stigma, not yet completely healed, of the slave trade.
To face some of these challenges, the Church in the Antilles has a long tradition of forming lay people, offering them many courses ranging from liturgy to communication as well as biblical studies.
In this regard, it is worth noting the ambitious 10-year pastoral plan adopted by the conference, which aims at the systematic biblical formation of lay people of all ages. Every 3 years, young people are invited to deepen their faith, reinforcing themselves in the study of a document of the magisterium. This initiative is proving to be very useful to help them acquire familiarity with the thought of the Church.
During the meeting, concern for families resounded. In light of the apostolic exhortation Amoris Laetitia, the bishops reiterated the importance of patience, mercy, and accompanying the path of families towards the full discovery of their specific call to holiness.
They recognize the value of marriage preparation and hope that it will turn into a catechumenate for engaged couples. Finally, the bishops concluded by recalling how, despite its fragility, the peculiar reality of the family in the Caribbean, with its resilience and inclusiveness, remains a strong point and a sign of hope for the whole society.